Dymension focuses on creating modular blockchains known as RollApps, which are app-specific rollups, with heavyweights like Cosmos championing app-specific chains, or even general-purpose chains like Ethereum doubling down on scalability and modularity. What makes Dymension uniquely positioned in this fiercely competitive environment?
Yeah, so Dymension is, I think there's a lot of advantages in Dymension that get into the tech in terms of how the rollups are actually constructed. On Dymension, there is no multi-sigs, which basically safeguard the funds. So the Dymension L1 actually serves as the guardian for the rollup funds. On Ethereum, this is the multi-sig smart contract, or the bridge, aka the bridge that the rollup developers built. This is a technical advantage, right? I think what's interesting about Dymension is how we look at rollups. We look at them as kind of a primitive where anyone could deploy these instances. You can think about it more as a crypto website, right? Any entrepreneur could deploy this instance, right? You don't have to be technical on Dymension. You can do it all via the UI. It's all safeguarded by the Dymension L1, and you can try out, your blockchain journey as a creator and collaborate with an operator. So the Dymension mindset, putting the technicals aside, right? I can dive into the technicals. We can get into understanding why multi-sigs are, in essence, the counter opposite of what rollups need to be. But I think the most important thing is, how do we create this environment where people have fun, people actually create cool apps? We want to get to that point where we don't talk about the infra. We want to talk about, okay, how does this actually help people make money online, create new communities, collaborate? This is what we need to be speaking of. And, I think this is where Dymension really, really shines, with the ability to deploy a rollup as a creator, collaborate with any operator, do this with no technical advantages, and to get your community up and running.
Awesome. I love this answer. Yeah, cool. Before we talk about Dymension and so on, let's maybe quickly talk about your background, Yishay. So you're the CEO and co-founder of Dymension together with Barry, right? So maybe you can tell us more about your personal crypto journey.
Yeah. So there's also a very important factor here. There's also Omri, which is leading the engineering. He's much more in the shadows, but that's a very important piece in this whole huge project that's called Dymension. So for myself, I've been in crypto since 2016, studied computer science 2015, got into this space because of that. I've been throughout, the entire stack, quote unquote. I used to work for Kraken, so I knew the exchange, kind of how the inter exchanges work inside. I had a small payment startup with Visa, which we did Lightning credit cards back in 2019. So knowing kind of that landscape of payments, regulation, crypto exchanges, the computer science aspects of this. Afterwards, I worked for a guy named Shalom McKenzie, which is one of the biggest shareholders in DraftKings. He's a self-made billionaire, so I've made all the investments on that realm. So I knew how, to kind of approach investors, or what investors are looking from that angle. That's the way I met Omri, the engineering part of Dymension, to the engineering lead, and we figured out, kind of tackled down the Ethereum roadmap and what's wrong with it, and that's how we came up with Dymension. And from there on, it's all a story of conviction, hard work, continuing to follow your North Star. And yeah, that's the 2 minute about myself.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds really great. For those of our listeners who are maybe not so familiar with modularity or like Dymension, could you briefly explain us what is like the core thesis of Dymension and which problems it aims to solve?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I'd say that we want to build things that users want, right? And that's the core thesis of every entrepreneur, right? You want to build things that users want, right? That's the first step. Okay, the second step is people want to have their own blockchains. That's a fact. People want to have their own blockchains. Now, getting to that point of having your own blockchain as an entrepreneur, that's hard, right? You need to call validators. You need to do all this coordination work. You know it, from your team. You understand the magnitude of it. You understand the costs that are related with this. So the idea is, how do you scale the app chain thesis, or the idea that as a user, as a creator, as an entrepreneur, I want to have this instance. I want to have my own blockchain. How can you do that? So this is Dymension kind of solving that aspect, right? But there's also, I'd say, the aspect of technically giving you the ability to run a blockchain without any trust assumptions. We can get into that, but I guess like I said at the beginning, the core architecture of a rollup is basically a place where you put in funds, and that place is safeguarded by some kind of technology. And if that technology is based on a multi-sig, what you're doing basically is just safeguarding the funds in the rollup developer's hands. So this is what Dymension aims to solve, while giving the opportunity for everybody to have their own blockchain.
Right. So in Cosmos, right, we talk a lot about this app specific thesis. Like we don't follow this Fed protocol thesis. We follow the app chain thesis. And one of the major problems, from my understanding, is obviously it's as you said, it's really tough to set up your own blockchain from scratch, find all the validators, make it sustainable, and so on. So from my understanding, that's like sort of the core thing that Dymension is solving, right? It's like you make it super simple to launch your own app specific project or app specific chain, and make it more sustainable, more affordable, and so on.
Yeah, I'd say it's even more than that, to be honest. As a creator, as an entrepreneur, you also want to have connection to users. You also want to have connection to liquidity, right? Having all this infra is nice, but it's not enough. You need the full package. You need A to Z. And what A to Z means is, okay, I can get to the Dymension portal. There's a full-blown app. I can create my own blockchain. I can connect it to liquidity, to users, to incentives, everything that's needed. You need to bundle that. And that's why the Dymension protocol or project, or whatever you want to call it, is huge, right? In scope of technicals, right? It's very hard to ship all of these aspects, right? Modular blockchain is a lot of pieces, but the fact is, if you don't integrate all those pieces, it's worthless. So Dymension focuses on, how do we get the full package, A to Z, to the user, abstracting everything from him and giving back levels of service. And that's why, things aren't completely going from 0 to 100. It's a gradual pace to get there. It requires a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of conviction, but we have it. And, I can say that it's all coming together very nicely with the 3D release. So hopefully we'll talk about that as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's very interesting. And so yeah, exactly. You bring like a whole ecosystem. You obviously you also support sort of the RollApps that are launching on Dymension. You try to bring the liquidity and all those like individual. You try to bring all those individual pieces together basically, and that's like what an ecosystem needs, I think, in the end of the day. Can we briefly talk about the architecture of a RollApp? Like, what does it involve? What does it take to create a RollApp? What kind of like major technical pieces are there? I know there are like operators involved. There's like a DA layer. Can you briefly explain like how it works?
So Cosmos, in a nutshell, Cosmos has basically started this thing that's called modularity, right? There's the app layer, where there is the logic, say, of the bank modules, like how much money you have, what happens when you swap, what happens when you stake. And there's the other part, which is called the consensus engine, that's Tendermint, right? That basically ensures that the app layer is consistent with what all the validators have. So like voting, making sure that it's kind of, you can think about it as the security aspect or the security engine of the chain, right? So this is kind of the Cosmos architecture. Dymension looks at this and says, okay, I have a rollup. It's basically one validator, right? So the Tendermint part of Dymension is actually called Diamond, and it looks to Dymension Hub to get the security. So it basically relies on the Dymension Hub application to get the security or to say what is right and what is wrong. Let's say in comparison to a Tendermint chain, right? Tendermint chain, they need to agree all the validators on the app state. So at Dymension, the consensus part is basically looking at Dymension Hub and saying, okay, I'm going to get my orders from Dymension. I trust Dymension, and that allows me to deploy this instance with no validators, to have zero latency, all that advantages that rollups bring into the table. So that's kind of, I'd say, the most interesting or the most important thing of how a rollup is built, right? And the Dymension Hub basically holds the money of the rollup, it secures it, and it only allows deposit and withdrawals according to the rollup state, right? So you can think about a rollup as a vault. Everybody puts money in the vault, and then they say, okay, let's play around off chain. We can play games, we can do whatever we want, and then we can settle and take that money from the vault. So Dymension Hub or Dymension Layer 1 verifies that when you're coming to this vault and requesting to cash out, that the state is basically what you're saying it is. So this is kind of the dumb it down what are rollups, or in Dymension at least, how it works. In terms of it's basically saying all of the data that will be required in case I need to get my money out, or in case there's a dispute, is posted, for example, to Celestia or other DA layers, so the Dymension Hub won't get clogged with a lot of data of all the rollups, right? So this is kind of the modular architecture of Dymension. Let's segregate between database, quote unquote, where all the data is, the backend where you can secure the rollup, and the execution, which is, in my opinion, it's more like the front end or like the website that the user interacts with.
Okay, understood. Okay, and then there's also basically, so you sort of deploy several virtual machines. I think there's the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, and also Cosmos. Are there other VMs, or is it like, from my understanding, the rollups they could, or RollApps could deploy any VM? Is it true, or how does it work?
It's a matter of resources, like everything. So everything that you can put on the Cosmos SDK, we can put on a Dymension rollup, right? But we just need to integrate it. Currently, we support Cosmos and EVM. We will support SVM and other VMs in the future, potentially MoveVM. But currently, like, our scope is just to make sure that anybody could deploy their own instance, basically democratize this thing, have it available for creators which are not technical, and take it from there, to kind of increase the VMs and the execution capabilities.
Got it. So it's definitely possible. It's just like right now it's basically EVM, Cosmos, and then over time you will roll out other virtual machines as well. So how does someone go about creating a rollup today? Like, I think right now it's permissioned, and we will probably talk about 3D shortly after. And then there's also the RDK, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to simplify things for everybody. So currently, Dymension 2D is basically a permission blockchain that allows a permission address to create an instance of a rollup. This is not where we want to be. This is not the vision of Dymension, but it's a crucial part of the way forward. We want to start out, we improve, we test, we iterate. And now we're getting into the Dymension 3D phase where anybody, right? It's just a matter of, it doesn't matter if you're technical. Anybody could be an L2 founder. Anybody could be a rollup founder. No technicals. You get onto the website, the Dymension portal. You define all your tokenomics. You define everything that you want about your rollup, like domain, the logos, everything that you want. And it basically creates an instance of the rollup on Dymension layer 1, and then any operator could opt in and take that data from Dymension on chain and start running your chain. So it creates this marketplace, this harmony between validators, operators, node people who are technical, and people who are entrepreneurs. They're not the same persona, right? And this is what is beautiful on Dymension or at Dymension 3D. And the current step is just one phase to get there. Unfortunately, we wanted to have much more emphasis on the 2D step, but there's a lot of let's say prioritization. Like we need to prioritize where we want to be, right? And the real vision of Dymension is Dymension 3D. Dymension 3D is what like it's your dream, right? It's 1,000 rollups, deposit, play, withdrawal. Everything is on the UI. Everything is kind of an internet of rollups, exciting, and that's where we want to be. That's where we're going to be in a very short time. Hopefully, you can try it out, create your own rollup, run it yourself. Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too. Awesome. So basically, we are right now at the 2D stage, and we already have some RollApps live. I think it's Rivals, NIM NIM Network, sorry, and Monday, I think.
Yeah, Rivals isn't live yet.
Okay,
so we have this NIM and Mandy for starters. Like I said, the emphasis for us was to move forward and to push towards the 3D. It required some changes in plans in terms of how we see 2D. So I guess 2D was a bit quiet, much more than what we initially planned, but it comes because we believe that the 3D phase is what actually makes Dymension great again, or as the community loves to say, MDGA. So yeah, that's the emphasis.
Yeah, nice. Love that. All right, then let's talk a little bit more about 3D. Then I think there was this huge announcement just a few days ago that you will launch, or you're preparing for launching Initial RollApp Offerings, or IROs. We are all aware of ICOs. I mean, at least myself, I've been in crypto since like end of 2016 or early 2017 is when I started my journey, and I was like super bullish. I was extremely excited about ICOs. I've participated in many of them. Some of them actually became huge projects, such as Aave, for example. And so I'm kind of excited to see RollApps. Sorry.
Yeah, even like these huge projects that came out of the ICO era.
Yeah.
Right. It's insane. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about IROs. Like IROs is like what you want to get out of the crypto scene, right? You want to democratize access to apps. These apps, we give them, Dymension gives the ability to have your own chain, even as a creator, as I said. So why can't we take this bootstrapping mechanism for democratizing, let's say, companies or protocols or whatever it is, and put it into the Dymension stack, which is the IRO, basically saying you don't have to launch your chain immediately. You don't have to do that. You can start out by saying, okay, I want to raise for liquidity, right? This is a bootstrapping liquidity mechanism. You can choose your own curve. So everybody who's familiar, obviously, with Pump.Fund, with all the amazing stuff that's going over there, it's because mostly there's a fair launch on a bonding curve that allows people to grow with price, right, and to get their tokens out there. So the IRO mechanism is a little bit more robust because it's actually addressed towards like people who want to evolve their token into a chain. You don't have to. You can just leave it as a token, right? The IRO mechanisms allow you to deploy a token and easily transform it into a blockchain of its own. So that's kind of the beauty of it, saying, okay, every IRO has the intrinsic potential of creating its own ecosystem. So imagine like Shiba, right? Shiba eventually turned into a chain, right? They have their own ecosystem. It started out as a meme, right? You can start out your own meme, and who knows where this meme is going to end up. This is exciting, right? And even as an entrepreneur that you want to build your apps, you want to start out, you want to get that momentum, you want to get that traction, you can start out with an IRO. You can choose your bonding curve, you can choose your valuation, quote unquote, and people could decide to interact with it before it becomes this app, before it becomes the next Binance. We democratize the access for everybody in the Dymension community or in the crypto ecosystem to chains before they become chains. This is like mind-blowing to me. And you can have like fair launch L2s, which is also insane. Like you don't need to have VC backers, because we help you bring the infra alive, right? We connect you with the operators, we connect you with the liquidity, with everything that you need to create your app, so you can democratize the access to the users.
Right. Yeah, and I guess, I mean, as long as you are like an interesting project, right, or you have something unique to offer, why not going this way? And I think one of the reasons why Pumped Out Fund definitely is so successful is because of the fair launches, right? Is because 100% of the supply is sort of like available to the community early on. Everyone has sort of an equal chance to participate, whereas in a lot of many other projects, obviously, like, oftentimes the VCs or early backers, they're the ones that are getting like the best price, and you're just like buying way much later. And but I believe right now, or the plan that you guys have is sort of the projects can decide themselves. Should they launch a fair launch, like 100% of the supply, or should they like launch like, let's say, 60-70% of the supply? So it's also sort of modular, or they have some options there, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, we're obviously going to have like a fair launch tax, so everybody could filter. If you want to choose to invest or trade just fair launches, you can do that, and I totally understand that. But the thing is, with if you're building this app, or if you're building something that's going to be big, and it's not that, like, every meme is a meme, right? In Dymension, you could be a meme, but you could also be the next biggest application, or like the biggest chain. So it's a little bit more versatile. It's a little bit more, if you think about like Pump.Funds, kind of like, I'd say, yeah, people gamble like on the lottery, right? You can catch the greatest meme before, but on Dymension, it's more like horse races. So you need to see like which horses are good, right? Are fast. It could be like cool and memeish. It doesn't. It's not counter this or that, but we give the flexibility for creators who want to invest like a year before, or 6 months before they actually launch their IRO, to build in value to this, right? So it has this potential of having intrinsic value. Moreover, I want to quote that the creators on Dymension, they get royalties, right? I don't know if you know this. It's a new feature that we just published. They get royalties. So any swap on Dymension of a RollApp token or an IO token, we split the fees with the creator. So creators have constant revenue cash flows that are getting to them by being solely the creators, right? They're the entrepreneurs. They need to get this revenue share with Dymension, with the protocol. And I think that's going to be a major growth engine.
Yeah, I really like that, and I do think, like, let's take Pumped Out Fun again as an example. I don't think they have a revenue share in place, right? So basically,
They
I
give
think
you
like
they give you once you turn from the bonding curve to the liquidity pool, which happens on Dymension as well.
Mhm.
Once the sequencer turns out, so in Pump Fund, for example, you reach this amount of market cap, and then it automatically goes to the pool. So in Dymension, once the sequencer launches, all the liquidity gets into the Dymension DEX, and the LP is burned, similar to that mechanism. But there's no definite timeline of when that happens. It's when the sequencer decides to launch the chain. But you can still trade it on the curve as much as you want.
Right.
I just wanted to kind of FYI that.
Okay, got it. And then you mentioned it can either stay as a token, or it could become its own rollup. So does that mean that on Dymension right now there are what, like ERC? Will it be like ERC20 tokens that live
Yeah,
on Dymension?
exactly.
Mhm.
It's an ELC contract you can add it to your MetaMask. This is the IO token. Is Think about it as a future token, right? Once the rollup launches, you can exchange it one-to-one with the rollup token. So it's a future token. It's an ELC token. You can do whatever you want with it. It's the same thing. It's traded on the custom bonding curve of the creator. All the fees are split between the creator and the Dymension protocol. So half gets burned, half gets to the creator's wallet immediately. So every swap, at the end of the swap, it sends it automatically on chain. That's great. There's also a feature that's called endorsements, which basically says, guys, we have a lot of incentive dime that we want to distribute. Let's do this by voting, right? So let's say that there's 100,000 tokens in a year, everybody could vote where they want them to go. So you as a creator, you can vote for yourself, and every day you're going to get a payment from Dymension for voting and being part of the pie, right? So you as a user, you can also say, listen, this rollup is cool. I want to give him resources. I want this rollup to have money. I want it to grow. I'm a part of the community. I can vote for it. I can endorse it. I will endorse it. This requires you to stake, of course, because if you're part of the ecosystem, you need stake.
Right.
But this is a very important feature. So endorsements and royalties together are Dymension's growth engine. They promote, they promote like a real ecosystem. And I think it's important because a lot of people came up to me and say, "Oh, you guys, you're not doing enough marketing. You're not talking to enough teams, the VC teams." Or guys, crypto is all about organic, real growth of people in their homes, in their,
Right.
looking to get the next thing. It's not about this circle jerk of, okay, you guys come and build this fork on my app. And no, it's not about that. That's not how innovation works. Innovation works with mechanisms like endorsements and royalties, which bring creators to you and create this organic growth. So I'm certain that we're going to have a lot of exciting things coming up from endorsements and royalties, and it's going to bring a lot of fresh air into the ecosystem. And yeah, I'm just super excited about it.
Yeah, nice. I mean, we are also we are also excited about it, and actually, we are also like testing right now RollApps ourselves. So this is something that Winnie is like.
You're gonna have one. It's
Yeah.
it's easy. There's no reason why. You can even manage kind of your organization as a rollup, which is another cool use case, right? So you can say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna build this rollup, but it doesn't have to be even for users. Like even for us, just to kind of get to decision making. You have governance on the rollup. You have everything that you need. So it's kind of like an online organism as well that you can use. So I can see that happening as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I would love to see like full blown businesses of all sorts, and maybe even validators, launching their own RollApps. So that's pretty awesome. And also meme coin season as on RollApps or on Dymension is something that I'm looking forward to. Yeah. So, but there's also you guys are. It's already live on. Is it testnet or is it mainnet? Because I saw a website and I saw actually a lot of like tickers and logos.
It's the 3D playground. It's testnet. So this is
Playground. Okay.
the testnet. It's entering its final phase right now, and with the aims of upgrading mainnet into that version. It's exciting. People are having fun over there. There's a lot of cool, let's say, small competitions coming up and interesting things. But I'd say the mainnet is obviously more exciting because there's real value. People could, see their tokens going up, deposit to cool apps, endorse, get people to endorse your token, right? You don't even have to have your own rollup. You can have your own token and say, guys, please endorse my token, and that's going to bring you revenue. So whoever gets the most endorsements gets the most capital flow to him. Whoever gets the most swaps immediately gets those royalties. It's going to be fun, guys. Keep the Dymension journey has just begun. I'm telling you, I've been 4 years working heads down. It's just beginning right now, guys.
I love that, man. Yeah, awesome, man. So I basically have one or two questions left. So there are, I think, 4 different bonding curves actually, right? It's like fixed price, linear growth, logarithmic growth, exponential growth. So that's like you're basically giving more options to the creators.
There's actually infinite amounts, but I don't want to get into the math because it's just going to get a little confusing. But essentially, yeah, there's 4 types. So you can have a fixed price, which means, for example, imagine an ICO, right? You'd say an ICO, everybody could buy it at $1, right? That's a fixed bonding curve. It's not a curve, it's actually just a line, right?
Yep.
There's linear, which means that the price would grow in a linear curve, like it's gonna grow in a linear fashion. exponential and logarithmic, each one has their own nuances and advantages, right? It brings to the game a lot of, I would say, like skill, right? This is what I talked about horses, right? You wanna look at the horse. You wanna see if this horse is a fast horse, right? So there's a lot of, like, let's say, details that bring a lot of value to creators and users, basically trading and understanding apps and getting capital to their liquidity pools. It all comes together very nicely, in my opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely, love that. All right, and then my final question is basically, so what's the ETA for 3D, if you can say something roughly, and then after
December,
that,
December. It's gonna
December.
be, yes.
Okay, so it's around the
This
corner,
year,
basically.
yeah. I'm gonna just say it, but we wanted to be, of course, earlier. When you're developing a blockchain with the magnitude of Dymension, sometimes things are a little harder than expected, sometimes not. But it all comes from, the real, let's say, wish of our team, which are very hardworking. It's a hardworking team that we want to build things that users want, and we want to do this safely and compensate all our supporters and all the Dymension believers out there, and that will come.
Awesome, awesome. Love that, man. Love that, man. And one final thing before I let you go, I saw on I think it was like the mainnet announcement article or something like that. You already talked about 4D. So I guess that's something like for 2025. So what's the vision for the next year? What's sort of the roadmap once you guys launch 3D? Do you have anything specific in mind there?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of surprises coming on 4D, but currently the focus for us is to actually bootstrap, the entire ecosystem. We want to see, just a sec, we want to see 1,000 rollups. We want to see 10,000 rollups. We want to see endorsements. We want to see royalties. We want to see what we've built so hard, growing and flourishing organically. Dymension team is, we're not focused on being cheap in that essence of doing things unorganically. We build, we invest the time to create the right mechanisms to flourish the ecosystem, and I hope that people could appreciate that. In terms of 4D, things are agile, right? There's a lot of things that we put into the Dymension protocol kind of just from seeing what's up, right? You have to be agile, you have to see, you have to take the right turns, understand the right priorities. For example, IROs, right? We understood that IROs is a crucial mechanism, so we had to change plans to put it in the 3D roadmap. So of course we have a plan for 4D, but let's say this, 3D is so exciting that I can't even, I don't even want to hype 4D at all. Like, it doesn't really matter. There's so much things to do on 3D, and it's so important to check it out and to see the new frontier. I believe Dymension is going to be the new frontier of crypto. It has a full stack capability, it scales, it's anti-fragile, and most importantly, like I said, it goes after what users want, even if it's hard.
Absolutely. No, man, I love that. I love that. And yeah, next year, like thousands of rollups. Yeah, super excited for 3D. Yeah, can you let us know how can people find Dymension? How can people find you?
Yeah, Twitter, of course, Discord. I'm pretty accessible. You can shoot me a message on Twitter. There's of course there's the TG group that Dymension has, the announcements, but most of the discussions are on Discord. So join Discord. Feel free to reach out. We're a positive bunch. Not too high. We're not. Don't take ourselves too seriously. So you can obviously come up and collab with us, and jam with us and vibe with us. And hopefully next year we're going to be a lot more active on the ecosystem growth aspects. Yeah, it's this time where we want to grow the ecosystem, so it's a good time to connect with us. Come on, and yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I will make sure to also leave all the important socials in the description below the video. Yeah, thanks a lot, Yishay. Thanks a lot for your time. Really appreciate that. Yeah, let's catch up once 3D is live.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to your roll up. Thank you for having me. Great
For sure,
talking.
man.
We'll catch up. We'll do this again.
All right, man. Have a good day.
Thank you.